Well, hello and welcome to another episode of Get to Know UIC, Get to Know United in Christ. Or in this case today, we are having an episode of Get to Know USS, Get to Know the Upper Susquehanna Synod, because today, as my very special Friday guest, I am overjoyed to be welcoming Bishop Collins to the show. Bishop Collins, thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, absolutely. This is going to be fun. My pleasure.
Excellent. I'm so glad that you're able to find the time amidst all of your current plethora of Zoom meetings to carve
Yeah,
out a little space to digitally hang with us today. Thank you so much. Uh, so,
absolutely.
so for folks who maybe haven't gotten to know you in terms of interacting with the Synod on your level in recent years, how long has it been now that you have been serving as Bishop of the Upper Susquehanna Synod?
Right now, I'm well into the fourth year, so elected in 2016. So the term starts September 1st.
Okay.
So yeah, so it's amazing that we're in 4 years already.
Yeah, it's kind of I imagine it's surreal to be on the back end of the 6 year term, right? To
Yeah,
be say, oh,
right.
we made it through the halfway point, and now looking to how this goes for another 2 years.
Right.
Now I don't know that you were planning necessarily that in your tenure as bishop you would be embracing a global pandemic and figuring out how to navigate churches in the midst of all of that.
Oh, well, like sure, it was on my list.
Yeah, absolutely. Uh,
Somebody just jokingly said, we had that playbook at our, training for bishops. I went, they forgot to give it to me.
Yeah, naturally, of course. Yeah. They should just be downloading that right into your playbook at this point. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
But I will say that as a pastor in the synod, I am grateful for your partnership in the midst of a global pandemic. I don't know that there would be many other bishops with whom I'd rather have us be accompanied right now. So thank you very much. Uh,
locked up with, locked down with,
that's yeah, all of those in with and under. I don't know, just kind of yeah. But for folks who maybe don't understand exactly how the synod works or what the synod means, when we talk about the Upper Susquehanna Synod, we're talking about a geographic area, and for
Right.
us, what are the boundaries of that territory surrounding us?
So it's a 10 county area that starts at the top border with New York and goes down just above Hershey, about a half an
Okay,
hour in all directions. And as far as the shape, it's 10 counties.
yeah.
And as far as the shape, I've identified it as it looks very similar to Texas, but with the tail end flipping the wrong way. Instead of flipping to the right, it flips to the left.
Awesome.
Um, yeah.
It's like
So,
when I look at it, it's like a weird amoeba blob that's just decided to start like growing out in odd ways because that's the way Pennsylvania counties work, right?
right,
Yeah.
right.
And we are one of what, seven synods in Pennsylvania itself, right?
Correct.
And
And seven in Pennsylvania. And as far as regions, we are one of eight in Region 8.
right,
So,
absolutely. But I know that like in terms of the number of congregations, Upper Susquehanna, like believe it or not, even for as small geographically as it is compared to many other synods across the country, we have one of the largest numbers of congregations, don't we? How many congregations are a part of the Upper Susquehanna Synod?
right now we have on record 121,
Wow.
which includes one congregation that isn't an official
Okay.
congregation. According to the ELCA, it's a synodically authorized worship community,
Right.
and that's
Right.
the table in
Yes.
Bloomsburg. But we also have one or two other congregations that, for some time, a couple months, have been considering closing
Mm,
because of their finances or the age, or just the
sure.
community has
Sure.
basically shrunk.
Right. Right.
So we'll be continuing to have changes with that. But my count as of today is 121.
As of this morning, do you get like a daily dossier of just how many folks are left? Yeah. Awesome. So among those 121 congregations, when the synods go to election and they elect a bishop, they generally, not always, but often vote from among the clergy already present in that synod. And you had served in this synod prior to becoming bishop. And so where had you been serving in the midst of that?
Well, during the election time, I was actually serving as the director for evangelical mission in the synod office,
That's right.
assistant to Bishop Reeson,
Yes.
and I had been in that role for 3 years. So technically, I'm in my seventh year of being in the
The
synod
synod office.
office.
There you go. Yes.
Right. Before that, I served my first call was the Fulmer Parish, which was Fulmer Lutheran and St. John Lutheran,
Absolutely.
outside of Milton and
Yeah.
in Potts Grove.
Yeah.
And right after, post-grad seminary, I worked at Trinity in Milton,
Okay.
director of education family ministries.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. I don't think I realized that part of your career and history there. That's neat. And folks, of course, know Trinity and Christ. We know they are part of our geographic neighbors, probably the closest Lutheran congregations to us. Mm-hmm. And folks might know the St. John's and Fulmer Parish because that's where we go for that hayride every year. United in Christ. We go and participate in their annual hayride.
That all started while I was there.
Oh, that's so cool.
Started with 1 or 2 wagons and then grew up to 6 or 7 wagons.
Yeah, it's nuts. There were like
people.
250 people there this year. I think they had 5 or 6 wagons still. It's wild. If you haven't been, you got to get on it.
Yeah,
it's so much fun. That's
great.
Cool. So now you said it in passing, but like I don't know that folks necessarily recognize it. So the Fulmer Parish was your first call as an ordained pastor, right? So and you'd been there for how many years?
About 10 and a half.
Okay.
More than that.
So you came to ministry in this form, at least, as a second call person, correct?
Yeah, second, third, fourth call.
Second,
third.
many somewhere nth call person somewhere down the line. Right. So what's your background? What brought you to ministry? What were you up to before entering into church ministry? I should say.
I'm gonna say I was born.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I could say I was born into the ministry because, pastor's family, which you can well relate to.
I understand.
Born on Sunday. My dad does not remember what the sermon was that day. But he was trying to figure out why he had a 4th child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm shocked he got a sermon out at all.
Yeah, I mean, Father's Day, he had to preach, what can I say?
Oh, jeez.
But, so church has been part of my life the whole time.
Sure.
As when we moved back to the Berwick area, which my husband's from,
okay,
became members of Good Shepherd.
Oh, sure.
We were there for 19, 20 years. But the things I did before, so I graduated from high school and really wanted to go into the military.
Oh, wow.
Because I wanted to learn a trade. I wanted to do things with my hands.
Yeah.
And my mother said no.
As moms are wont to do, I think.
Yeah. I mean, she lived through my oldest brother serving during the Vietnam. And so she felt that as a mother, she had given enough.
Sure.
And so she set that down pretty quickly. And so I went to Penn State, originally to become a theater arts major.
There you go.
Again, I wanted to build sets, design sets, work with my hands.
Yeah.
Until I found out that you also had to go on stage and act to meet the requirements of theater arts.
Uh-huh.
And that was not something I ever wanted to do.
Understood. Go figure.
Never would I be on stage and talk to people.
There's a grand sense of irony in the midst of all that, isn't there?
Oh, huge. Huge. So long story, I went into music education.
Cool.
That's where I met John. We were at Penn State Blue Band together. His first position teaching was in Oil City.
Okay.
And that's where my career started. They pulled me in as an art teacher.
Wow.
Which lasted for a short period of time because of a certain member of your congregation. Who kind of was conceived during that time.
Yes.
And so kids came along.
Sure.
And I left that position as they got older. Then a lot of different odd jobs. I worked for a children's clothing store, helping to do the shopping in New York for the designs and designed the store windows.
That's so cool.
For that, then when she moved the store to Danville, got another position with an equine feed store.
Okay.
And that's where I kind of got connected with my neighbors who also had horses. And we started doing saddle repairs.
Oh, wow.
And that turned into opening our own business, AC Saddlery in Bloomsburg,
That's
PA.
so cool.
And continue that. It was going well. So I did a lot of work with saddles, English and Western. Western was my favorite.
There you go.
English saddles are rough.
Okay. I'm learning a lot.
Yeah. And like I said, we were doing well with that. And then my one partner was seriously injured in an auto
Oh
accident. We
my.
kept things going for a year, and then both families had a lot of things to deal with their own families,
Sure.
taking care of people. So we decided to shut down. So the last thing I did before going to seminary was a friend of mine who's a physical therapist invited me to come help him in the office. So I worked for a physical therapist for two
Wow.
years.
That is
So jack of all trades.
yeah, I was just about to say that is a storied history there. You got all sorts of skills and tools under that belt.
Basically go where I'm needed.
That's
And that
very
was
cool.
kind of the other ironic thing with the ministry. Like,
Yeah.
you need me to do what? Yeah. God is so funny.
I think God has a great sense of irony and probably sarcasm in a lot of ways in the midst of all this, right?
But I don't think he does puns.
Oh, you got to tell Greg Kramer that. I know.
This is Greg.
Awesome. So
Yeah.
with all of that background, like kind of feeding into this, right? If that's where your grounding is from all these myriad of places pulling together, now I assume that like that's got to inform your role as bishop in so many ways and colors what you see taking place across the synod in really creative and cool ways. So where is it that you're catching glimpses of that? Where among the synod and among the congregations and in your role as bishop and across the council of bishops, even when you in your relation to churchwide, where do you see God at work? Where do you see the Spirit on the move, kind of unleashing the church with the big C across our territories and across the country?
Yeah. So I counted up. I've been in this synod about 37 years.
Wow.
Actually, I lived in this synod. So yeah, I'm a newcomer.
Right.
I was not born and bred in
Yep.
this territory,
Mm-hmm.
but I've really gotten to know a lot of folks.
Sure.
My family, actually, my parents were raised in the Juniata conference area.
Okay.
So, there's connections in a lot of things. And as I said, John was born in Berwick, so
Yeah.
there's North Branch.
Yeah.
And so knowing the congregations, knowing folks, what really excites me presently is how in the recent 2 years, I've seen folks really start to engage when we open things up for conversations to
Yeah.
take place, to see folks enjoy doing that and actually share their own stories and the excitement of what they were doing in their congregations, the outreach ministries, the in-house ministries.
Yeah.
And that has continued those conversations to where we have this new strategy.
Right.
And there are folks volunteering to participate in leadership pieces and teamwork. And it's like my father always said, your job isn't to make it happen. Your job is to plant the seed.
Right. Right.
And watch it grow. Nourish it, encourage it, watch it grow. And that is what I'm seeing. The seed has been planted not just by this term of bishop, but
Sure.
through many. But I finally get to see things sprout and grow, and that is exciting. And I think that has benefited this exact time of the pandemic.
Yeah.
Because folks know each other better across their territory.
Right.
And they're not afraid to reach out to each other. And look for help or be the help for somebody else. They're checking in across, outside of their own congregation walls.
Right.
What you're doing on with Zooms and online offerings.
Sure.
They're sharing those things across our congregations.
Right. Exactly.
It's awesome.
As somebody who's seen it from the other end, like I know you're on the end where you're putting all those pieces together and figuring out how to relate them, but it's as somebody watching that take place, it's been very cool watching, particularly with that mission strategy playing out. It's very much, it sounds like it's leaning into where folks are already passionate, right? It leans into what gifts are already flourishing and have already been planted, to find those new ways of relating to each other, of finding new ways of, I'm going to borrow your words, of being church together, right? Like, this is what it looks like. This is what it means to be in relationship with one another, not just within our congregations, but across the territory and across all of those boundaries that we would normally put up. And that's been very cool. And I've seen it take place, even in the ways in which your office has changed the format of Synod Assembly to be more relational, right? We get the business done, and that's great. And I'm glad. And then we get to spend a whole nother day relating to each other and learning from each other and engaging with one another in terms of interest and passion and yeah, even lament, because we share in those too. And that's been so cool to see take place.
Yeah, absolutely. The sharing of the stories, have been, during those conversations at Synod Assembly, I wasn't engaged in those conversations.
Yeah.
I was the observer.
Right.
And walking around and just seeing people talk to each other.
Exactly.
It's like, what is God doing here?
Right.
This is awesome.
Yes.
This is just absolutely great. Of course, coming from the world of DEM, the director for mission, the word there was relationship.
Right.
Relationship. And I was seeing it happen. And It's just, talk about joy, like, oh my goodness, this might actually work.
Exactly.
And it's not because of anything that, I do or my office does. It's the work of the people.
Right. Just,
yes.
I know, you get fired up about it, right? Like, it's just so cool to see, like, actually happening and taking place.
Yes.
I love it.
Yep.
So clearly, from hearing your tone, like, this has been a source of joy for you. I hope, at least, because I think it's been incredibly fruitful. But in your role as bishop, what other places, where have you found surprising joy in your role as bishop? Where have you found, like, peeking behind some kind of corner that you weren't expecting? Where have you find joy pop out in the operations of the bishop's office?
We'll keep it all positive, because you said joy.
I did say joy. I did say joy.
There's the tradition of the church, in the prayers to pray for people, things, whatever. And I know, being a congregational member, we prayed for our pastor, we prayed for the bishop.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense. But as I get further into this term, when people come to me and personally say, you need to know that we pray for you regularly, or I pray for you regularly.
Yeah.
Boy, that makes a big difference to me right now.
I'm sure.
I don't hear it the same way.
Right.
So I was kind of surprised, like, wow, that has really affected me.
Yeah.
When I hear those words.
Yeah.
So that's one of the surprises. Another one is, oh my gosh, this is the image of bishop. This is not my image. I don't do these things. I don't look this way. Okay, I'm in a Camp Mountain.
I know. I was just about to say. I love it. It's authentic. I love
shout out to Chad.
Yeah, good.
But the other joyful surprise is people are continuing to allow me to be who I am.
Good.
Yeah. Yes, I have worn the mitre. I have worn, decked all the robes and coats. But deep down, when it's face to face, when I'm out there in public, people still let me be who I am.
Good.
And certainly there are expectations, but I'm still me.
Good.
And that is a nice surprise that I can do that.
Very cool.
The piece, larger as far as a surprise is, globally, I never would have thought that I'd have acquaintances and friends across this entire globe.
Yeah.
That is a whole, surprise. The Bishop of Jerusalem.
Yeah.
I know personally.
That's so cool. Yeah, I don't think people necessarily realize just how much travel you have to do in your role as bishop across the world.
Yeah. I mean, I have friends in every state now.
That's so cool.
I started to recognize that in the role of the DEM.
Yeah.
But even there, our Region 8 DEMs really hung together a lot.
Sure.
And because we had similar contacts, we were close by, we could work together.
Yeah.
But as Conference of Bishops, the rule is we have each other's back.
Yeah.
We are there for each other, the drop of a hat.
That's so cool.
When we talk about that community at seminary, that I would always hear, we'll never live in a community like this again, especially if however you've lived through seminary.
Yeah.
But I have never lived through a community such as the Conference of Bishops.
That's so cool. That's so cool.
It's It's amazing.
That
Doesn't mean that we always get along.
right,
You know,
absolutely. As with any community, right? I mean, that's just the way it
but
works.
to know that I can pick up the phone, you know,
Right,
that's the rule. If you, you know, get a call from the bishop, you drop everything
right,
else because, you know, it might be something really
right.
important. Which on the other end, we need to say, if we're calling another bishop, we have to announce this is not an
Right.
emergency.
Off the
I
get-go,
just
right?
want to chat. I just want to talk.
There you go.
So it's a, yeah, it's like, wow,
That's so
that
cool.
that's surprising.
That's powerful.
That's
And
amazing.
and that conference of bishops, that's the one, obviously one for every synod. That's I'm losing track. That's 165.
65 synods.
I was going to guess 7, but I was a little off. So 165. That's 165 new colleagues all of a sudden, right? To be able
65.
to, yeah. That's 65 period, not 165. Sorry. Oh, this
65.
is why I failed my
Then
church
then
history and polity courses in seminary, because I
no.
couldn't remember all these numbers, and it just this confession time.
Yeah. Then you throw in Bishop Eaton, it makes us 66.
That's so cool. That's so cool. Very
And
neat.
that's the other surprising thing. You know, I know Liz. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, it's, you know, yeah, it's different world.
I imagine. I can only imagine. Very cool. So as you think about that, and the ways in which all of this has equipped you in your role as bishop here for the Upper Susquehanna Synod, and the way this community surrounds you and helps empower you. So what then are your continued hopes and dreams for this synod in looking into the future? Where do you feel God has the potential to continue unleashing what this synod has to offer? Where would you like to see this synod continue to thrive in the years ahead?
Okay. So I'll begin with a story that I share about my election process.
Okay.
Because, you know, we've had to share that story in other places. And I would jokingly say that as a DEM, that year in my report, I showed a video all about change.
Yeah.
And they still elected me. You know?
Go figure.
Yeah. So my hope, you know, for our synod, you know, for our congregations, for every member, is that we would continue to be agents of change.
Yeah. And
change in a positive way of being open to respond to the needs of our community.
Yeah.
And not just to our own needs.
Right.
But granted, we need to take care of our own folks.
Sure.
But we need to also change how we do things so that we are connecting with others in our communities without the expectation of them becoming one of us.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So to be that agent.
Yeah.
Of change, and then with that, the agent of hopefulness.
Yes.
You know, we've got the good news.
Yeah.
We're not the only ones that have it, but, you know, we have a language that can help people through, especially times like this.
Yeah.
You know, who do you trust?
Right.
You know, and we trust God. And it's not that, we trust that God is going to put an end to all this and heal all this and take all the danger away. No, we trust that God is with us.
Right. Right.
And will see us through this.
Right.
One way or the other.
Right.
And to be agents of that word.
Yeah.
And as I see folks engaging a little bit more, I would hope that change for individuals continues. Absolutely. That they see that they are capable of telling that story.
Right.
They are capable of sharing that good news.
Yeah.
Through their words, through their service.
Right.
Just by being out there.
Exactly.
If we can pay more attention to being out there, then when we are in here is a time for celebrating, you know, lamenting,
sure.
You know, being fed, you know, all those things. But it can't stop with the in here stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what I loved, and the first synod assembly I attended after making my way to this territory, I remember you standing up and in front of a group of pastors. I think this embodied exactly what you're saying. You said something to the effect of like, we spend so much time lamenting that our kids are busy over the weekends and they can't come to church because they have the soccer match or the baseball game or whatever. And I think your words were something to the effect of, so be the church and take that hour and send some folks to go support your player on the field, right? And like to watch a bunch of pastors be like, Oh, right. I mean, it totally caught some folks off guard, but like
Yeah.
that would be change, and that would be living out our call to be God's community of faith, right? To go and support one
Right.
another. Hey, we can still be church, and we can still worship together whenever. But sometimes it's just showing up for our folks, and in those creative and unexpected places. And yeah, that might look a little different than it used to 50 years ago, and that might mean a little bit of change.
Yeah.
But it's life giving, right? And it's exciting. I thought that was
That's
so
the
neat.
story. That's the story I hear repeated more often than anything else.
Good.
People will remind me that I said that.
Yes.
Remember, you told us to go to
You
the
told us to go
soccer
play
fields.
baseball Sunday morning. That's what I heard you say.
No, I didn't say go play. I said go pray
Pray.
at
That's
the
right.
baseball
There you
fields,
go.
at the soccer fields. Show up for those families.
Right. Right.
Because I've also heard the lament from parents in those
Sure.
situations, like, what are we supposed to do? This is the only time our kid has the opportunity to be a part
Right.
of this team, and they kind of, I said, we have to be there to support those parents
Right.
who feel very guilty
Sure.
for not bringing their kids to church.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So,
I think that's very cool. Very cool.
yeah.
So now, Bishop, I mean, we've talked a lot about your work. We've talked a lot about where you are investing a lot of time and energy and passion these days. But for you, when you go home at the end of the day, when you take the miter off, when you put the crozier down, when you take the collar out, where is it that you find joy? What does a bishop like to do on her off hours?
The office is at home now.
I do know that. So really, you can't. You're just stuck. You can't ever leave it. Yeah.
So, for me, we have a huge advantage as a family being right here.
Yeah.
So both of our kids live within minimal driving distance,
Great.
10 minutes.
Yeah.
And so we not only get to see, our children, but our grandchildren,
Yeah.
it's just, and watching them grow and their personalities grow.
Yeah.
They're all unique individuals, and it's exciting that we have
Absolutely.
that. So, and that is one thing we miss for them, because the questions are, when can we come to your house again, Grandma?
Yeah.
And why can't we hug you and all that? So, knowing that that'll be soon, and we can very easily see each other
Yeah.
on FaceTime or whatever.
Exactly. It's tough though.
Music was always a passion of mine, also,
Yeah,
being a
music.
musical major. But I'll turn on the classic music, as in, not the symphonies, that type of classical.
Nice.
Yeah, okay.
Nice.
To listen to, but I don't play like I used to.
Okay.
I mean, another hidden secret, and don't anybody call me on this. My family knows, but I was a piano major.
Oh wow.
I have a piano in my house.
Wow.
And I dust it.
No way.
But I don't sit down to play.
Sure.
I have other instruments in the house that I don't sit down and play anymore.
Oh.
I was always creative with my hands. I always like to build things.
Yeah.
I just started stitching things for the first in a long time because I had to make masks.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah.
And rather than pull out the sewing machine, I just did it all by hand.
Nice.
Anything outdoors.
Cool.
So taking walks.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things, I guess, that I enjoy. I'm just not doing them anymore.
Right. Right.
Other than the kids.
Good.
So,
Right.
so that is where the huge joy is when we have downtime. John and I do like going on vacation, and technically I should be floating on the Mississippi this week.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but just kind of living and enjoying life as it is, and during this time, it's really paying attention to some of those things that I miss. I still haven't played the piano because John's here in the house.
You got to send him on one of the long walks.
Yeah. yeah. But those are some of the things that I would enjoy. Playing, putting puzzles together a little bit. Um, Stupidly playing games on my phone.
Those mindless ones, right? I get it.
Yeah, that's more of now an addiction. I will admit, but you're listening to something else, and it keeps my mind
Yeah.
in a different way
Yeah.
besides doing church work.
Yeah, for oftentimes I imagine it scratches that tactile itch, right? Just doing something with your hands that allows you to then like focus and listen in better and reallocate that space. I get that. That makes sense to me.
Right.
Very
So,
cool. Very cool. Well, Bishop, thank you so much. I so appreciate this. I hope you, in the midst of this, find time to carve out or find the opportunity to carve out more time for those hobbies. I hear there's a lot of churches that are looking for good pianists these days, so that you could have some real job security if you wanted to dust that off and a little more and sit down some.
it's my mother that could play hymns because that's how her piano teacher taught her.
There you go.
I can't play a hymn to save my life, but I can play you Bach's Little Prelude. Not a problem.
Awesome. I'll write words to it. It'll be basically like a hymn. We can make it work. We can make that happen. No worries.
That'll be good.
I think there's potential. There's real potential there. But Bishop, I give everyone a chance when we wrap up these episodes. I give everyone a chance to share their last parting words of wisdom. Anything they want to say, generally to the congregation. But if there's anything you want to share with the synod, any pearls of wisdom from the bishop's office today, anything that you'd like to share with folks as we wrap things up.
I'd have to share Pearl just because of this pandemic.
Yeah.
Folks, keep breathing.
Yep.
Try to keep the anxiety down.
Yep.
Trust yourselves. Don't freak out by all the various voices that are going on out there. You know your families, your communities. But be safe and be smart.
Right.
And I don't like using some of the catchphrases that are out there all over the place. So I'm just going to say, just breathe.
Right.
We'll be okay.
Absolutely.
We'll get by. Probably there's a song somewhere.
There is, no doubt, for sure.
Everybody's keeping everybody else in prayer.
Yeah.
And this is certainly a unique situation, but just hang in there.
Yeah.
Just hang in there.
That's right.
And be good to yourselves.
That's true.
Be good to yourself, Pastor Justin.
Hey, we're working on it. We're going to keep trying, and we're going to hope our folks can keep doing the same. So, yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that, Bishop. We really appreciate it. We appreciate all you do and your work with the Synod. I'm grateful that you are the bishop that was here when I arrived. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
My first ordinand.
Yes, that's true. That's true. I remember when you showed up to my ordination, you were pulling the mitre out of the bag still. It was fresh out the bag. And that was a great moment of joy. That was very cool to see. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks for all you're doing, too, and your congregation. It's great.
It is our pleasure. It really is. And our passion and our joy all at the same time. So thank you. And to everyone else at home, God's continued blessings and peace in the days ahead. Stay safe and just breathe. Thank you. We'll talk to you later. Bye for now.